Brains Together for a Cure started when Sue received a phone call from someone in another organization, and she was asking her if there was anything in Rochester, any events to raise money for brain tumor research, and there wasn't. And so she gathered me and some others together and thought, well, we'll do a little event and raise a little money and a couple $100 and see what happens. And that first year we had, through handing out flyers, we thought we'd have about 100 people, and we had over 500 show up. And it was incredible for our first outing of trying to raise some money, and we really knew that there was a need and a community that we needed to tap into and gather together and do it again.
And where were you guys?
It was out at RCTC at the college in the hallway.
Because that was the only thing we could get for free, and we had no money.
Right. So when those 500 and some people showed up in the hallway, it was pretty crowded. But we were pretty excited too.
I think what's great about this organization, there's many things, but in terms of its origins, it wasn't an idea from a physician or a scientist thinking, I think we know what our patients and their families need, a bit patronizing. No, it was the care providers and the patients who said, this is what we need in our community, this is what's missing, an important piece of the puzzle. And Shelley's a great example of that. She took care of 3 family members, including her husband, who battled brain cancer, and who best to tell us what's needed than Shelley, her husband, her brother, her mother-in-law. And that nidus is what's grown into this BTFC that we see a decade and a half later. I look forward to the day when we're not needed anymore, that the Brains Together for a Cure has disbanded because the cure was achieved. It's a lofty goal, but we have to aim high, don't we? And so I look forward to that day. Until then, we and other members of this community will be here fighting, striving on, motivating, and working and toiling so that one day you don't need us.
What has it meant to you to be a founder of this organization, to be a part of this organization?
Well, it has been very life-changing, really, truly. I'm extremely proud of it. I think we have done a good job with what we have been given. As far as different projects we've funded, as far as our support group, I think we have been helpful to people, and that's really the biggest goal right there, is to just, no matter how small it is, whatever we might do, we might think it's absolutely nothing, but that person on that receiving end thinks it's the world. And that's amazing. That's amazing.
Very proud to have been a founder of this organization, and I think that I wouldn't have imagined it. I didn't want it, certainly. The circumstances that were presented to me with my husband's illness, but I feel like I jumped in with both feet, and I'm proud of the research. I'm proud to know so many people that I've met, and I've said this before, Sue likes to quote me with this, but I've met some of the most amazing people that I wish I had never had to meet. And that's so true. I mean, these people sitting on both sides of me here right now, I would never have gotten to know them and would not have learned and grown in my life if I hadn't been exposed to the situation of having to care for people with a brain tumor. So I'm proud to be a part of this organization, not just to have started it, to continue to be a part of it.
I'm proud just to have been asked to be a part of this, part of Shelley, Sue, and other patients and family members and volunteers who started this. I'm not a founding member. I serve at the pleasure of the Brains Together for a Cure, and to be asked to be a part of that year after year, and on the monthly brain tumor support groups, I mean, I consider my profession to be a privilege and a calling. And being a part of this group takes it to another level. So on a very selfish note, to be a part of it, it's just wonderful beyond description.
Well, I think really, both Shelley and I have talked about this before. I really think support group is probably the biggest thing. I mean, I'm certainly proud of pretty much every aspect of this organization and what we've done. But support group, you know, it's one of those things where it's on a Saturday morning, you get up and you think, oh my gosh, I've got to go, I've got to do this, and you know, you don't even want to get out of your house in the wintertime because it's cold and you don't want to drive in the snow. But you get there and it's just an amazing feeling. You leave that hour, 2 hours, whichever it takes. You leave there and you think, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I went. You know, it's you know, it's kind of almost, you feel selfish because of the fact that I feel like I get more out of it than what we ever provide.
Certainly, I'm proud of the funding that we have been able to gather to support research, but in here, hands down, the support group. You know, in our support group, we meet as a group, and then we split the room up, and I take the patients, or the caregivers in another room, and Sue stays with the patients. And
make
Dr.
run
splits his time in each room, and maybe the caregiver room is probably the most emotional room, and that's the room that I'm always in, and sometimes there's not a lot of chatter, but whatever is discussed stays in that room because it is something they maybe want to share without their loved one there. It's very meaningful, it's very impactful, and I'm just facilitating the conversation. I'm just a fly on the wall, sort of. They talk, and the room carries itself without much from me, and you know, people are sharing some deep things, and as they're traveling through this disease and caring for someone, and that is, I'm very proud that I've been able to be a part of that.
I agree. Yes, this organization was founded on the needs for better therapies, and therefore we fund research. The thing about research is it's the promise and the allure of something better, but it can be years or a decade away from us from today. What the support group provides, though, is the help right here and now. Yes, we can tell our patients and families something better is coming. Here are the projects that we're funding, but what are you going through today, last week? What are you worried about tomorrow? And as Shelley and Sue said, when we talk to patients and their care providers, they share common fears. And to know that others have those same fears, it's very empowering. To know that they're not the odd one out. But also, we don't really help them, the three of us. It's the community of people coming together, and in the end, we just kind of stand back and they help each other. So while I can say as a physician and scientist, something better is coming down the pipeline, but in that support group room, we say, let's try to help you, or help you guys help each other for the problems of today. It teaches me that there's a very strong resilience of the human spirit, no matter how dark the days may seem, and may seem like the clouds will never part. It's amazing that people can still laugh, that there's still life in the darkness, and it really gives you hope. So yeah, every meeting I leave with a sense of awe that people suffering can still hope for the future.
So without the funds, we can't sponsor any projects. We can't do anything to move the medicine forward, to move things ahead so that there are better treatments, more options. So by being able to have events, get donations, we're able to keep moving things forward and to fund different projects. So it's been a hard year for everybody, pandemic-wise, but don't forget us. Don't forget us. we'll be back.
I think our brain tumor community, as I like to call it, the people that have been involved with us in the past have been so supportive, donation-wise, year after year after year, and I think they know that that those donations are important, and they know where they're going, and they know that the projects that we fund are important, have good science behind them, that they have promise for the future, and I think that for us to promote that, it's hard, but I think knowing that we have a background of a community that is behind us and knows that, and I think that helps us fund more projects.
Yeah, I think that there's 4 equally important pieces of the puzzle to making a change in clinical medicine. One is the need. Why do research in an area that there's no need? Well, unfortunately for brain cancer, there's a tremendous need for better treatments. The second piece of the puzzle is ideas. Many great ideas, not only at Mayo Clinic, but around the world. The other one is passion, the passion to want to make a difference in the world. But the fourth and equally important piece of the puzzle is funding, to bring these ideas, passion, to fruition. And that's what this organization is about, is bringing together these 4 pieces and making it work. Because that's what it's going to take to get better treatments for our patients.
And it was really interesting too, because with all the people that showed up that day, when you talk to people afterwards, you heard from everybody, I didn't know so-and-so had a brain tumor. I saw this person there. I had no idea they were dealing with that. So there's definitely a need. People didn't realize how many people are affected by this disease.
And I think people saw that coming together was important. They didn't know it was important until they got there, and they realized that there's something to be said for being around other people who are going through the same thing that you are.
And do people come year after year? Tell me a little bit about the community.
Year after year, it's amazing. People come who have lost their family members, perhaps, but they still continue to come because this organization and the event and the funding, and they know the research that we fund, they know those important pieces of our organization, and they keep coming year after year so that they can support us. So we're very grateful for that.
And they meet people, they meet other family members, other people that come to the walk, and they look forward to seeing them every year. So they come back to be able to see and to relate to the people that they've met.
And I think that is a huge component of the BTFC, a sense of belonging, because when I'm in the office with one patient and his or her family, it's that small microenvironment. It's a very individual interaction, and while it is very powerful, what's even more powerful is when that one patient and his or her family sees other patients and their families and the care providers, to know that what they're going through, others are going through it, and the fears and concerns that they've had, they're shared. And I think that's what probably draws people back year after year, month after month for our support groups as well, is a sense of belonging. And so why is funding for research important? It's because, if you think about earth-shattering, groundbreaking therapy that's going to change the face of cancer, you can think of that as being like this wonderful, grand oak tree that provides a canopy of shade for the children in the neighborhood. And you cannot ignore how important and just awesome that tree is. But when we look at that tree and ask, where did it start? Somebody, maybe a child with his father or mother, planted it many, many years ago. So if we think back to that, it was a tiny little sapling, frail in the wind. One bad rainstorm, it's gonna fail. But somebody had to have the care and the vision to say, one day this tree will grow to something big. Well, I think that individuals, incredible like Shelley, Sue, and the BTFC founders, they are the they are the shepherds of these little saplings. They're planting it in the ground through pilot projects. And they're saying, one day this is going to grow. And I think I have faith like that, despite everything that they've gone through. What that gives me hope. Not only the hope that this pilot project will grow into a big tree that changes the world, but there were people like these individuals who had faith to plant it in the first place. I mean, I'll close. You know, when people ask, what does it take for promising therapies to come to fruition? And I think there's 4 equally important pieces of the puzzle. The most important is need. And unfortunately, there's a huge need for better treatments of brain cancer. And patients and their care providers are the first to tell us. They're the most important people to tell us what that need is. Then there has to be the ideas. And yes, we have many ideas from our wonderful physicians and scientists. There also has to be a passion to say we're dissatisfied with the status quo, we want something better. But a 4th and equally important part is going to be the funding. Ideas and passion, they're wonderful to enrich our hearts, but we can't bring that to fruition unless there are the dollars to say we're going to make these projects happen. And so your funds, your hard-earned cash that you donate to a cause, it's an investment into the future. And I think that's why funding is so important.
And I'll see you soon.
Yep, and like I said, don't forget us. We'll be back. We miss everybody's hugs. We miss seeing everyone, but we'll be there for you next year. We'll be there.
Yeah, the pandemic has impacted all of our lives, but I'm certain that this pandemic is not enough to take away the motivation and the passion that our group has, but also the patients and their families who help us help them. And we will be back.
Lovely.
We will be back in person, God willing, next year. And the 15th anniversary party that we thought we were going to have this year at our event, we'll have it next year. So please come.
Even though we can still do the math and we know it's 16 years, we're going to celebrate. We're going to actually just add on a year and celebrate even harder.
And I want to say one last thing. You don't have to use this, but there's a quote that I love, and it goes like this, something like this, that when I stand before God at the end of my life, I want to be able to say, I used everything you gave me. And I want to be able to say that everything that I have put into BTFC and tried to make this organization the best that we could for all the people that need us.